अपनी मर्जी से अपने सफ़र के कहाँ हम हैं, रुख हवाओं का जिधर का है उधर के हम हैं. बट लोगों का मार्केट में भी ऐसा ही momentum, people get carried away with the momentum. In 27 years of being around, this is the 6th time I'm seeing what you just described. And let me quickly narrate it, rather instead of going into very long history, feel like missed opportunities. Only the current crisis feels like a threat. Mind is that ultimately investing is not just the numbers and the views. It still needs you to stay on course, correct? Dietary requirements, आपका workout and physical fitness का requirements, everything can be generated. It doesn't mean you will reach the gym at 6 in the morning. It can work out a physical fitness plan and even set an alarm on your phone. वो कर देगा. But that doesn't mean you will wake up and go down at 6. Biggest mistakes in investing are made when you chase high yield in an otherwise low yield environment.
Hello, welcome to another edition of This or That. I am Bhartendra Singh. Today we have Mr. Aashish Somaiyaa with us. He is equity partner, WhiteOak Capital Group, ED CEO, WhiteOak Asset Management. Hello, Ashish. Thank you very much for coming again.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Last 1 year काफ़ी इवेंटफुल रहा है since the time we have spoke. FII की बातें हो रही हैं, they are exiting, gold की prices, tariff, a lot of things. And but सबसे important चीज़ जो मैं बात आज आपसे करना चाहता हूँ कि मुझे almost 10, 15, 12 years हो गए हैं in the industry. The first time ऐसा लग रहा है कि लोग बोल रहे हैं कि इंडियन इक्विटीज़ का हो गया अभी and they're done, you know. Which तो मेरे को आपका perspective चाहिए कि what is your view, like, you know, because last time we ended our podcast saying best is yet to come. Right. So आपका view क्या है अभी?
You'll be surprised to know, I think sometimes our memories may fail us, but since we keep studying this and discussing this and working on it all the time, I'll tell you something which you and maybe a lot of your young viewers will be very very surprised with, which is that जैसे आपने बताया कि भाई ऐसा लग रहा है कि इंडिया में से लोग निकल जाना चाहते हैं या
लोग बोल रहे हैं, मैंने बोल रहा हूँ.
I mean that's the sense you get.
Yeah.
But I've been in the industry, investment management, mutual funds. I've been around since 1999. I was a trainee in ICICI Mutual Fund in 1999. Okay. Why did I tell you that? Is what? Because in 27 years of being around, this is the 6th time I'm seeing what you just described. Okay. And let me quickly narrate it, rather instead of going into very long history. See, let me start from 97. In 97, India did a nuclear test in Pokhran. And forget Iran and Russia, there were sanctions, economic sanctions against India, which is like an economic boycott. Okay. In 97 itself, there was an Asian currency crisis. Right. In 1998, Russia defaulted on its debt. And there was a Russian debt crisis. In 1999, there was Kargil war. In 2000, the internet bubble blew up. In 2001, terrorists attacked the World Trade Center. We had Ketan Parekh and our own telecom media bubble. In 2002 onwards, in Iraq and Afghanistan, there was a war. And obviously there was FI outflow, currency depreciation and high oil prices because of all of this. So that is one whole series of 4-5 years which was like this. Then in 2008, there was global financial crisis, right? In 2008, oil went to $145. Okay. Rupee depreciated from, in 2007, rupee was 39, it went down to 49. That's 25% down. With that kind of market cap, we had $16 billion of FI outflow. And not only there was financial crisis, there were terror attacks in Mumbai, and then in 3 months, Jan 2009, Satyam scandal came up. Biggest governance disaster in India, correct? So this is 2008. In 2013, India was part of Fragile 5. Okay, like we had a balance of payments and current account, capital account, all of those were under stress. In 2012, stock market was 25% down. Rupee depreciated, I think, all the way down to 69. In August 2013, rupee was 69, correct? Oil, 2011-12, oil was consistently $90, 90 to 95, maybe even $100 in between. Okay, so that was Then you fast forward to 2018-19. ILFS defaulted. Oil was again not related to ILFS, but oil was also that time $90. Rupee went all the way down to about 7. I mean, previous to that it was 62. It went to 72 or something like that. Correct. There was a credit crisis. Institutions like Yes Bank, Diwan Housing, all of that didn't work out well. Correct. There was FI outflow, no doubt, and then it was followed by COVID. The next episode, you move to 2022. There was Russia-Ukraine war. US amped up their rates all the way to 6%. Oil went to $129. Rupee went from 72, 73 all the way down to 84. There was $22 billion FI outflow. Correct. So 5 episodes I have narrated to you. This is the 6th one. तो जब भी होता है ना, अभी जितना बुरा लग रहा है उतना ही बुरा लगता है. Okay, but that is the reason why some smart guy said that all past crises feel like missed opportunities. Only the current crisis feels like a threat. So अगर आप जाके किसी को पूछोगे ना अपने ऑडियंस में, जिसको भी थोड़ा बहुत हिस्ट्री पता है या स्टॉक मार्केट मूवमेंट पता है, उसको पूछोगे ना कि भाई 2002 में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए था कि नहीं, तो हाँ बोलेगा. 2008-9 में हाँ, 2013 में ज़रूर करना चाहिए था, 2019-20 में भी करना चाहिए था, 2022-23 में भी करना चाहिए था, तो 2026 में करना चाहिए कि नहीं, बोलेगा नहीं करना चाहिए. करेक्ट. सो I mean, I don't want to make a serious issue into a non-issue. It is a serious issue. I think there's no fun in not making money if you're invested. And the news flow tends to be very negative. It can be very depressing. Right? 2024 होता है तो everybody speaks about, अमृत काल भी आ जाएगा, आत्मनिर्भर भारत भी बन जाएगा. And 2026 आता है तो people will say तुम्हारे पास AI भी नहीं है, तुम तेल भी import कर रहे हो, तुम तो 60-70 बिलियन का गोल्ड भी import कर रहे हो, तुम्हारा तो रुपया भी 96 हो गया है, FIs भी बेच रहे हैं. You will feel like they are talking about 2 different countries. तो पॉइंट इज़ कि भाई जितना नंबर्स चेंज नहीं होता है उतना लोगों का मूड चेंज हो जाता है. ये सब है. there have been some negative developments, no doubt about it. I am not taking it lightly. बट जितना नेगेटिव डेवलपमेंट है नहीं उतना लोगों का मूड नेगेटिव हो जाता है. और हमने तो भाई आई नरेटेड यू 6 times we've been through this. आगे भी होएगा. So you should navigate your investments, but you should not get carried away by the माहौल that is being created.
इसका एक अलग पर्सपेक्टिव भी है. आई मीन मैं मेरी बात करूँ या वट एवर, एक बेसिक रिटेल इन्वेस्टर की मैं अगर बात करूँ तो they are doing SIP for several years and they will continue to do it. और उनका बिलीफ है कि ये this will create retirement corpus for me and whatever this will. So मेरे पास ऑप्शन भी नहीं है, right? In terms of if I am in India, this is where I will invest. People are talking about international marketing and all of that, but एक तो AMCs ने सब बंद कर दिया है. There is a upper limit to LRS, right? Yeah, regulated limit. So I mean, if I look from that perspective, from the investor's perspective, this is the option. So I want to believe in this.
Okay.
Right?
But see, ऐसा कोई किसी को there's no gun on the head. Nobody is compelling anybody. I mean, yes, investing is required. And you are absolutely right in saying that if I want growth, then I have to be associated with the stock market. And you're also right in pointing out कि भाई बहुत ज़्यादा stock markets के हमारे पास choices open नहीं है. Because investing other than India stock market, there are certain, regulatory hurdles, ease of doing business related hurdles. There is LRS and there is tax collected at source, and it's not that easy to invest abroad. So I understand that कुल मिला के you are relegated to predominantly investing in India. But just because of the last 1 or 2 years developments, it is also true that India's track record or what we have delivered is not going to get negated or changed. Correct? The fact is that till 2024 end, see, markets are cyclical, economies are cyclical, macroeconomic parameters are cyclical. Correct? Till 2024 end, over a 20-year time frame, India was the second best performing stock market in dollar terms in the world. Only till 2000, मतलब 2024 के 18 महीने पहले. तो आप एक चीज़ समझो कि 18 महीने पहले इंडिया का 20-year CAGR was 11% compounded in dollar terms, which was second only to US. And each and every emerging market, including South Korea and Taiwan, was not even half of our return. Okay, this is 1.5 year back. तो आप समझो कि 1.5 साल में अगर हम लोगों का डॉलर टर्म्स में 20-25% डेप्रिसिएशन होता है और किसी और का डॉलर टर्म्स में मार्केट दुगना हो जाता है, So in 18 months, that relative comparison will change a lot. Okay. But barring the relative comparisons, the fact is that our own, as a country, our own prospects don't get waylaid just because we underperform for 18 months, or just because people think that यहाँ से हर चीज़ जो है वो memory chips, semiconductors और AI को लेकर के ही चलेगा, बाकी कुछ भी नहीं चलेगा. That's why I said that the narrative and the mood changes much more than the reality. So investing in India has served people very, very well. Till 18 months back, it was serving people very, very well. Right now, people may feel that, oh my God, will it work or not? But before this question came, I gave you 6 examples in the past where people have felt exactly the way they are feeling right now. Correct? None of this changes the fact that India is the most diverse, the most deep listed equity market. Right? We have every sector. In every sector, we have small, mid, and large. Currently, what is happening is that obviously there is a new technology or a new frontier of technology, and people think that the companies or the countries which supply the pick and shovel for this new technology, only they have a right to exist, right? वो तो ऐसे ही होता है. इंटरनेट जब आया ना तो लोगों को लगता था कि दुनिया में खाली जूनिपर नेटवर्क्स और सिस्को सिस्टम्स यही होएगा. हाँ, हमारे यहाँ पे भी खाली वो देयर वाज ऑब्वियसली देयर वाज अ वेरी पॉपुलर कंपनी हिमाचल फ्यूचरिस्टिक, डी-लिंक इंडिया, राइट, स्टरलाइट ऑप्टिकल फाइबर. तो हमारे यहाँ पे भी जब इंटरनेट बूम आया तो लोगों को लगता था कि खाली ऑप्टिकल फाइबर केबल नेटवर्किंग इक्विपमेंट और ये मोडेम्स और यही सब चलेगा. वो सब चला ज़रूर, बट 99-2000 में अगर कोई बोलता कि इंटरनेट आने की वजह से द बिगेस्ट विनर विल बी फूड डिलीवरी, स्टॉक ब्रोकिंग, वेल्थ मैनेजमेंट, लॉजिस्टिक्स कंपनीज, यू वुडंट बिलीव इट. So same way, right now there is a headwind. That headwind doesn't completely derail what the long-term journey is. Headwind is a headwind. It will ultimately change.
So, I mean, I'm sure people have had...
And by the way, just to clarify, we ourselves invest all over the world. Huh? By the way, WhiteOak as a company, so why I'm clarifying this, because I have no bias. I've been in the industry, like I said, 27 years. At least since last 17-18 years, so I've been involved with making products available to invest outside India. Right? When I was in ICICI, we launched US Blue Chip Equity Fund. When I was working with Motilal Oswal, we had Nasdaq, S&P 500, and so many other funds. Even at WhiteOak, since 2022, we manage emerging markets funds. So why I'm clarifying this is because 17 out of my 27 years, I've been involved with enabling investing in markets other than India also. So I have no bias. Okay. But I'm just clarifying to you that be that as it may, you should explore diversification. That is all fine. But whatever has happened in the last 18 months doesn't change the base case for doing an SIP in Indian equity. I mean, that doesn't change.
So we can talk a bit more about international investing. I mean, उसका केस तो क्लियर है. I mean, against the dollar you get, and there is a diversification factor that comes to up in. But who is it for? Because if you look at the option, it's not for everybody, right? At what point in time you should think about international investing?
So you're right that till couple of years back, when our domestic mutual funds were allowed to create feeder funds for sending money to international investment destinations, that was the most optimal, because 100 rupee minimum. I used to tell people on a lighter note in the past कि 100 रुपया में अगर तुम S&P 500 खरीद सकते हो, Nasdaq खरीद सकते हो, तो और क्या चाहिए तुमको, right? So that was fabulous. Now we know that there is a RBI limit on how much money mutual funds can send outside the country, and that is for all the right reasons, whatever, balance of payments and forex reserves and all of that. Now the only choice is to do under the liberal remittance scheme, right, where against every PAN you're allowed to send $250,000. It's $250,000 is, say, give or take 2.25 crore per year per PAN people can send. Now anybody and everybody can exercise that choice by sending money to GIFT City or by registering yourself on some international broking platforms, correct? So technically speaking, $5,000, $10,000, well, $5,000 is not a small amount of money, but I think generally if somebody has $5,000-$10,000, they can start doing it, right? There are apps and there are funds in GIFT City. So you're right that it's not as little as $100 or $500, which was erstwhile the case, Now clearly there is a hurdle which has come. Plus also the operating mechanism is different, right? Here, I mean, you can go on my app and invest $500, which is what used to happen. Now, no, investing through LRS in a GIFT City fund is not as smooth. Some people are working hard on making it as smooth, but not yet, correct? And then, of course, there is also this thing that when you remit that money under LRS, then there is a tax collected at source, which gets adjusted against your, TDS or whatever other advance tax or whatever you pay. But okay, at least there is something which is a bit of a friction. So you're right that it's not as easy as it used to be. But anybody who is determined to explore other opportunities or determined to diversify, there are ways to do it.
You have any number in mind that आपका portfolio should be like 50 lakhs, 1 crore, then you should explore, or you think कि
ऐसा लगता है ऐसे देखिए $5,000 is how much? $5,000 is what? 4.5 to 4.75 lakh kind of number. तो यार you're right कि भाई 25-50 लाख का portfolio होएगा तब कोई 4-5 लाख रुपया LRS करेगा, something like that. I can imagine that it can, because I don't think we are telling anybody to put 50% or 100% of their money outside.
I mean, I want that perspective कि international markets में अगर diversify करना भी है तो what should be that allocation in your overall portfolio?
See, how I always think about it is that I'll be, because I understand India better, because I'm based in India, if I have 100 rupees in equity, I would put 60 rupees, 50 to 60 rupees in equity, in Indian equity, maybe say 50 or 60 in Indian equity. And other than India, I feel that you should have investment in two markets. One is the developed world, which is predominantly US, right? So if I say 50 to 60% India, 20-25% US, and 20-25% emerging markets other than India, okay, which is what we already manage. I just give you an example. So when you say, why did I say that? See, US, there's no chance you make an equity portfolio and you will not have US in your portfolio. I mean, okay, let me clarify. If somebody is going to listen to our chat and then start investing in US, I think hold on, this is not the time to start. If I have to start doing this allocation today, then the allocation for US, I would put it on hold. I would not start investing in US right now. I personally think that it's been on a tear for far too long and there will be some law of averages catching up. But anyway, the point is that 50 to 60% India, 20-25% US, which is the ideal allocation, but I would not start making it now. And another 20-25% is emerging markets other than India. Why I said US? Because US is the biggest economy in the world, the largest stock market in the world, and American companies means you're not investing only in America. They are truly global companies. Once I checked long back, S&P 500 itself, I think half the profit was originating from US and half the profit was truly global. Okay. So S&P 500 also is a global index. It's not US. Same maybe applies to Nasdaq. I mean, in varying proportions, which I don't know now. And emerging markets is also very interesting because nowadays emerging markets are in vogue because of South Korea, Taiwan, right? But even if you leave aside memory chips and semiconductors and all of that, still investing in other emerging markets is important because you will have Middle East, you will have Brazil, you will have some commodity driven markets. India does badly when commodities do well. So if you invest in other emerging markets, you get commodity exposure, you get tech exposure, which we already spoke about, you get exposure to, we say India is a domestic market. So Latin America, maybe there are big domestic markets. China is itself a big domestic market. Potentially there could be some investment options in Middle East and Indonesia also, which are big markets. So there are plethora of reasons why you should invest in emerging markets other than India.
So just like you said US, even if you look at the names you took, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, they've given returns which does not look like they can sustain. Taiwan about 40%, Kospi is 62%.
Yeah, it's obviously, it's gone multiple X in the last 1 year itself. So see, I think one thing which I'm not very knowledgeable on this, but I do feel that it's a big capex cycle. A lot of the semiconductor and these kind of companies which are into hardware and which are benefiting because of hyperscalers spending on data centers and all, there is a significant element of cyclicality to it because they are beneficiaries of a unheard of capex cycle. Okay, so of course in this span of 2 to 3 years or 4-5 years, where even after multifold increase in the share price, the PE multiple is 6 times and 8 times. When does that happen? That will happen only because in this 3-year, 5-year window, they are expecting humongous amount of capex to happen and all the order flow to come to these companies. But all capex cycles are cyclical in nature. At some point in time, the capex would run ahead of the required capacity, and at some point in time there would be a slump in order flow. If somebody thinks that this is trees going to the sky, then they are going to be horribly wrong. Correct? So, and these hyperscalers themselves, they have a limit to how much they can invest and at what pace. And at some point in time, there's nothing wrong if $100 of capex is happening. But the point is that if there are 5 guys putting $20, which $20 will be productive and which $20 will go down the drain? Whose $20 will produce a desired ROIC and whose $20 will fail? Right now, the entire $100 capex is being rewarded, right? But we know for a fact that some will fail and some will work, right? And we know that at some point in time, the amount of investment which is being made will run ahead of the required adaptation of AI or the capacity or even the returns on the AI investment, correct? So, ये फिलहाल के लिए है. I think it's happening right now, here and now. ऐसा सब इंडिया में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बूम में भी हुआ है, उसके पहले टेलीकॉम इन्वेस्टमेंट में भी हुआ है, उसके पहले इंटरनेट बबल और नेटवर्किंग इक्विपमेंट में भी हुआ है. एंड इफ़ यू रीड लिटरेचर, इट हैपेंड इन अमेरिकन रेल रोड्स ऑल्सो, राइट? इट्स हैपेंड मल्टीपल टाइम्स इन हिस्ट्री. आई डोंट थिंक दैट one should get carried away too much with any one or two markets and the boom that they are witnessing. So I think US and some parts of Asia, you should be a bit more circumspect. But yeah, international diversification you must do.
Coming back to India, I mean, as an asset manager, while you're saying, things are positive, what is it that you think is going to drive alpha in India? I mean, I want some more positive insights. I want people to believe that whatever they're doing in their SIP is good. So, some perspective on where do you think alpha is going to come from?
See, we should keep one thing in mind, that since we are more, probably the doubts are emerging out of last 18-20 months of market performance. So we should keep in mind, like I said, that economic growth, policy focus, macro variables, and resultantly stock market performance itself, these are cyclical in nature, correct? You can never have too much of a good thing, correct? So these are cyclical in nature, and in end of 2024 we saw GDP growth kind of slowing down. In hindsight, people realized that RBI policy was probably too tight, correct? And in end of 24 we also saw that outside India there was this AI capex and AI boom really kind of picking momentum, correct? So it's a double whammy of sorts, that exactly when your stock market has made a new high and in a couple of quarters your growth starts to slump and your monetary policy starts feeling too restrictive. Obviously, don't forget the government was in India when there is an election year, the government is busy for 6 months, right? And then there is coalition politics and then the government formation. So suffice it to say that in 2024 there are many things which didn't work in a way that it would keep the market momentum going, correct? And then outside, the relative attractiveness turned out to be higher. So as a result of that, our market didn't do too well, correct? And there was impetus for investors to look elsewhere where the relative value was looking to be much superior. As a result, we have underperformed, right? And I think all these doubts are coming from there. But like I've said a couple of times, this doesn't change the long trajectory. Now it is 33 years that India's nominal GDP growth is 12% compounded. Even in what I myself called a slump, the nominal GDP growth was 10%, correct? Sometimes 9%, sometimes 10%. Maybe going forward it might be low double digit, correct? Even in this slump, in 2024 September quarter, EPS growth of Nifty companies was 0. But subsequently, it has come back to at least a high single digit, low double digit. And obviously, it's our job to pick the right sectors and right stocks. But it has come back to high single digit, low double digit number. It's not as good as it should be, but there is a recovery, right? You can already see early signs of what in Hindi you call Sawaliya Nishan on all the capex, and you can see that all the hyperscalers have corrected big time. You can already see different days when Korean market starts to slump. You can see Taiwan, correcting. You can see that there are question marks on sustenance of US economic performance, right? So I think that 2024 India's environment deteriorated, external environment became very good. Now I think there is some kind of reversal happening. And like it or not, the fact is that if the AI rally kind of slumps, you will see India's relative attractiveness improving.
In fact, I think FIA in July have
It started to happen already. I mean, I've been
Yes.
saying this for 6 to 9 months on various platforms. It started to happen already that the relative attractiveness will again start swinging back in our favor, because outside what was attracting people, there are question marks being asked about sustainability of those things. And look at us. In 2 years, if the market doesn't move, you know for a fact that it corrects double digits, right? Because in these 2 years when the market didn't move, depends on which sector and stock you're talking, but when the market didn't move, the on an aggregate basis, whether it is GDP, whether it is corporate earnings, all of that has actually gone up, right? When you talk at corporate earnings as a proportion of our GDP, we are nearing above average kind of numbers. 5.5% of GDP is now corporate profit. In the worst point, it was below 2%. So those indicators are improving. So 2 years, if market doesn't move, it automatically corrects in double digits. And on the other hand, the currency is down 15%. So if you're a foreigner, India is probably 30% or more corrected in last 2 years. Okay, and all of this works on relative attractiveness. So we are becoming cheaper compared to our past history. We are becoming cheaper compared to our own averages versus other emerging markets also. And I think you will see that in no time, maybe in the next few months, maybe couple of quarters, you will see all of this changing. And maybe I'm repeating myself, but all of this doesn't, derail you from the long-term trajectory. And SIP, if we're talking about SIP, तो ऐसे टाइम पे तो SIP का रिटर्न बनता है, right? I mean, if you're doing an SIP, you don't want market to go one way up.
No, so I don't know whether you'll be able to answer this or not, but it's crazy that like you mentioned, there has been 6 events in last 27 years, yet every time it happens, why does media become so negative about it? I mean, like you said, this was the same country that we are talking about in 24, and now why the news becomes so negative suddenly?
ऐसा नहीं है. It's a mix of आंखों देखा हाल, वो तो उनको रिपोर्ट करना ही चाहिए, correct? आंखों देखा हाल is one part of it, and second is, I think they also give platform to people like us who are saying कि भाई ये तो हर साल का सर्कस है, right? And they also give platform to enough number of people who indulge in some amount of contra thinking, correct? Because let's not forget that psychology and behavior is big part of influencing economic decisions or influencing financial decisions. So I think that platform is available to myriad set of people. I would actually say that people listen to what they want to listen to. Let me put it that way, right? In my previous organ, I'll give you an example. In 2017 or something, like previously I used to work with Motilal Oswal. There is a lot of focus on communication, advertising, like they do above the line advertising. Somewhere in 2017, somebody told me, alleged, that all of you financial services guys, investment management guys, all of you amp up your advertising when stock markets are bullish. And I gave with data that look, I've been in this company since end of 2012. We have been advertising and communicating since 2012-13. I put up samples of advertisements and actually said that you notice when the stock market is booming. We have been advertising all along. You start noticing when the stock market is booming, which is also part of the equation, right? Mathematically, it may be happening that on aggregate, advertising goes up when stock market is booming. That may be true, but it is equally true that people notice when the stock market is booming, right? You will read in 1992, I was a kid in maybe just got out of 10th grade. And I was in junior college writing maybe my 11th, 12th exam. But in 1992, the stock market had reached, forget economic times, the stock market had reached, the daily afternoon or the midday. Correct? So, it is both. You are right that maybe media is reporting whatever is happening sounds negative, but what choice do they have? They are doing आंखों देखा हाल, what we call, right? उनको जो दिख रहा है वो ही report कर रहा है वो. But at the same time, I think they are giving platform to all types of people. Now the listeners also, while the purveyors of information should have maturity, listeners also should have maturity to seek out diverse views. No, it works both ways.
Now, I mean, again, I want to talk a bit more about last couple of years of returns. While the overall market has not given returns, a lot of funds have done well.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Any perspective on what has gone right on those funds, why they have done well in spite of overall funds not doing it?
Yeah, so see who has done well, let's put it this way. In 2024, so it always happens at the peak of the market, some people get carried away with the momentum, and some people make the choice to stay away from the momentum, bear some short-term losses or underperformance, but say that okay, we'll live to die another day or something like that, right? So in 2024, anybody who got overexposed to small cap, overexposed to theme of the season like railway, defense, public sector undertakings, I'm not saying that those are of questionable fundamentals, but anybody who gets caught up with the short-term momentum. See, in 2024, it was not a great idea to hold pharma, not a great idea to hold private sector banks. Definitely, it has not been a good idea to hold IT companies, correct? So all of these were out of fashion, and anything which is cyclical, commodity, public sector, that was in fashion. So people who got carried away with what was booming in 2024, obviously in 2025 and some part of 2026, they would have suffered. Because ultimately जो चलता है वो slump होता है, right? And on the other hand, in 2024, by the time the year ended, the top performing sector was healthcare, it was not defense. हाँ, अभी आप देखिए पिछले 2-3 महीने में न्यूज़ फ्लो कितना ही नेगेटिव हो, there are many days and weeks where IT companies actually outperformed, right? I have seen days when the IT index is up 4-5% and TCS up high single digit numbers, and all of these we are seeing in the recent times. That see, it's direct, it's absolutely inversely proportional. More questions on AI, more outperformance on India's IT index. So that is what is playing out. Now people who had kept their portfolios diverse and ensured that discipline, that okay, BSE 500 is my benchmark, how much am I straying away from it? How much am I focused on bottom-up fundamentals of companies versus how much am I carried away with the top-down macro noise or the news, correct? So I think people in 2024, people who did not get distracted with the short-term noise and who kept the portfolios in a particular discipline, by 2026 they are the ones who have outperformed. And in 2024, anybody who got carried away with the momentum and lost discipline of portfolio construction, they are the ones who would have taken a beating. But on aggregate, I think you are right. People will be surprised if they go back and see the data. In September 24, market made a peak. Even now, maybe it is 8-10% lower than the peak. But still, a lot of mutual funds, including ours, have given positive performance when the index is negative. Yes, it is low single digit, right? People can say इससे ज़्यादा तो बैंक में मिल जाता, but भाई निफ्टी अगर नेगेटिव है और फंड्स का परफॉर्मेंस पॉजिटिव है, including mid cap funds and all, then I think it is good performance.
That is the amazing part, right? The whole market has not done well, but some funds have
done well. The noise seems to suggest that people must be 25% down. ऐसा भाई $30 billion आउटफ्लो हो गया, रुपया 96 हो गया, तुम्हारे पास AI नहीं है, ये सब जब बातें हो रही है, the mahol is suggesting we might be 25% down. But the reality is that even from the peak till now, people have made positive return. In fact, I had posted on this in one of the social media that if you go by the noise, it feels like people lost a lot of money. Whereas actually, it's just that they've not got as much return as the long-term average would suggest. And we have had a couple of years of underperformance versus our own history. But I think, see, That is all mean reverting.
I mean, even if you talk about return expectation, I mean, people can expect anything, 25, 30, whatever. But I think 12, 13% is a decent return that somebody should expect. And in such a market, if return is, I mean, some funds have given you 8, 9, 10%, it's not bad, right?
ये 12-13 को आप contextualize करिए. See, let's understand one thing. लोग आपका अभी आपका बात सुन के भी किसी को लगेगा कि क्या बोल रहा है यार, मेरे को तो लगा 15-20% मिलना चाहिए, 12%, 12-13 क्यों बोल रहा है? You should contextualize that. See, when did you get 15-20% return historically? What was the history? Please, let's understand one thing, that for bulk of my career, okay, let's say that 15-20% average return CAGR is my career span. I have seen it. But in 20-25 years back, through the history on which these high return expectations have got built, when you got high returns, at that time, we should see all the benchmarks, right? India's nominal GDP growth at certain points in time used to be 13-14%. How? 7% growth hai, 7% inflation hai. Government is borrowing at 9%. Look, if the government of India borrows at 9%, risk-free, then correct है. जो लोग risk ले रहे हैं, there is a concept of equity risk premium. तो भाई अगर government of India 9% पे borrow कर रहा है और risk premium 5-6% है, तो yes, you will get 14-15%, and good actively managed funds will give you even 17-18%. Where are you today? That real GDP growth तो हो रहा है 6-7%, but inflation 7 के बजाय 4 हो गया है. So government is not borrowing at 9, na? Government is borrowing between 6-7%. And by the way, as a country, our risk premium has come down. You see, Professor Aswath Damodaran, he publishes equity risk premium of countries all over the world. You take the history, our equity risk premium has come down. So if government borrows at 6-7% and our risk premium is down to 5%, तो भाई तुम्हारा nominal growth ही 11, stock market का return 11 हो जाएगा. इंडिया का nominal GDP growth भी 14 के बजाय has come down to 10-11, maybe 12. That is because inflation has come down, and government, the risk-free rate has come down, and the premium has also come down. So if you get 12-13% today, it is comparable to 16-17% in the past. The reason is that inflation and risk premium have come down. Okay. And there is a very famous statement, I don't know who made it, or very insightful statement, that the biggest mistakes in investing are made when you chase high yield in an otherwise low yield environment. जब गवर्नमेंट 9 पे बोरो कर रही थी ना, तो आपका हक बनता है 14% आपको मिलना चाहिए. जब रिस्क फ्री रेट 6% है, तो आपको क्यों 14 मिलेगा भाई? आपको तो 10-11 ही मिलेगा. और ये 10-11 के एनवायरनमेंट में अगर आप 18-20 खोजने जाओगे ना, तो आपका केवल गलती होगा. You will make big blunders. When the banks are paying 6% on a deposit and you try to buy some bond which is paying you 16%, अब आप मेरे को बताओ, जब बैंक 6% में बोरो कर रहा है, आपको होम लोन 7.5 में मिल रहा है, तो ऐसा कौन है जो आपसे 16% में बोरो कर रहा है भाई? अगर वो आपसे 16 में लेगा तो वो डिप्लॉय किस रेट पे करेगा? Correct? So I think very good when you said 12-13%, it's a good segue to clarify that how these numbers come up. It's not that you or me are trying to shortchange someone कि भाई in the past तो 15-16 बोल रहे थे, लोग 12 कैसे बोल रहे हैं? It's not because of last 18 months. It is because over history, many fundamentals and macro indicators, like I said, risk premium, government's borrowing rate, inflation, all of that has settled lower.
So, I mean, I want to talk about gold and crypto also a bit, if you are comfortable. I mean, crypto is completely...
I'm comfortable. नहीं आता तो मैं बोलेगा नहीं आता.
नहीं, I mean, crypto is not done well. It's negative, right? And gold, let's talk about gold first. Suddenly my uncle and my dad said, देख तेरे को बोल रहा था मैं कि equity mutual fund करता रहा तो देख gold has given this return, right? So some perspective on that, on the gold.
No, I think, see, let's understand that there was a longish period when equity outperformed hands down till 2 years back maybe, and then a lot of questions on US dollar, on the global currency system, and people can a little bit losing faith on the dollar. And I think it started in 2022 because from whatever all of us have read, that the US kind of confiscated $350 billion of Russia's reserves because Russia attacked Ukraine, and it was a NATO thing. Now, clearly, what the US and Russia's equation above my pay grade, but definitely if any currency which is considered to be reserve currency, if they go about freezing somebody's reserves held in good faith, whatever the instigation may be, I am nobody to judge that instigation, but then definitely it will cause turmoil. And हमारे जैसा शांति प्रिय देश है, हम लोग भी गोल्ड खरीदना चालू कर दिया, right? Even our government and RBI has been buying gold. So I think there is that change which set a big move in gold, correct? Central banks buying, it's well spoken about, so nothing to repeat, correct? So I think that gold is back in the equation to stay for sure, because अभी एक बार जो शीशे में क्रैक आ गया, once that trust has been cracked, it cannot be fixed. So for decades to come, people will be circumspect about trusting any one currency or superpower or reserve currency, whatever you call it. So from time to time, gold would be back in the equation. And history suggests that every few decades, the basis of currency has changed. I mean, there could have been pound, and there could have been, obviously US dollar and gold standard, and so many things have happened in history. Last 100 years was different. Who knows? Next 100 years may be different, will be different, right? So I think gold is back in the equation, and people should consider it. And it's not just gold. जैसा आपने बताया crypto. So people have been looking for alternatives, no? Correct. If you see world over, hard assets, like everywhere, I mean Europe, Middle East, everywhere, even in India, real estate prices have just shot up. Right now, how much of that is because of economic gain, and how much of it is because people have just decided that better to hold, better to hold property in London rather than holding some currency. That could also be the thought process. So land, gold, crypto, all the alternates have done better, in the last 3-4 years. Definitely somebody can say, no, lot of it is just post-COVID revival. But all of it is not just post-COVID revival. No? People might be wanting to hold hard assets, so they are buying land and property. So kul milake, people have been looking for alternatives other than just financial currency, especially US dollar. Now, only thing to keep in mind in the near term, last 2 years in India, gold prices have gone up big time because not only gold went up, the rupee depreciated. So that is wheels within wheels, right? It's a double impetus. Going forward, I think gold price will have traction, but then I think the headwind on the rupee will recede. I think the rupee, past history suggests that rupee would actually appreciate. Correct? So gold price will go up. In rupee, how much it will go up? Maybe gold price will go up, but rupee will become a headwind rather than a tailwind. But yeah, net, I think I've given you a long answer, but yeah, gold prices will have traction.
So one of the...
Anybody, like I invest in equity, I think anybody who wants to dampen the volatility of equity, they should have gold in the portfolio.
Okay, so let's talk about the portfolio. In fact, in your last podcast, one of the takeaway was you said don't be dogmatic, right? So I'm like little open, and let's say today somebody.
I said I don't invest in equity, but if you see, maybe 3 years back, we created a fund which invests heavily in gold and silver, right? So I am okay with the volatility of equity. If my portfolio is down 20%, I don't lose sleep, right? And I feel equity has economic basis. But not everybody will think like that. So people who don't want volatility must have gold, yeah.
I was about to ask you, if somebody wants to build a portfolio or evaluate his portfolio between crypto, gold, real estate, equity, mutual fund, what's the ideal?
So see, crypto also, I don't remember if we spoke about it, but I have always been telling everybody that I don't know. Crypto, see, currency is just an application of the crypto. So whether it is Bitcoin, Ethereum, or what, I wouldn't have much knowledge about it, but I always felt that the technology is here to stay. I think eventually, tokenization, like for example, crypto bros call our assets real world assets, okay, and obviously their assets are digital assets. So now people are talking about tokenization of real world assets. I think even our regulators are already speaking about it, right? There has been talk about registering all real estate on a blockchain, right? So crypto as the technology and the concept is here to stay. I think it is going to become probably widely prevalent, and logically everything should be on a blockchain, right? So that is here to stay. I think everybody, all of us should make effort to learn about it, including tokenization of our assets and all of those. We should learn about it, and I hope it goes in that direction because it is safe and secure, and more liquidity and more less friction to transactions, etc. So hope it goes that way. But yeah, I mean, other assets, I think, yeah, you're right. You should be open-minded. You should not be dogmatic about that. Okay, I invest only this. Like I personally, even I invest in multiple asset classes, right? I mean, I've been investing outside India. I've been investing in equity. I've been investing in real estate also.
And let's say somebody is starting his doing his first mutual fund investment. What is your view whether it should be a multi-cap or it should be a right now any view on large, mid, small cap? I mean, what's
Yes,
your
I think if somebody is making the first investment and embarking upon a long journey, I think start with multi-cap. That is best because then there is good mix of large cap, mid cap, small cap. There is some flexibility that the fund manager also has. And I think alpha comes where there is heterogeneity. And multi-cap portfolios, in terms of the investment universe, they have ample amount of heterogeneity, right? So clearly, I would say yes, you should start with multi-cap.
Another thing that you keep talking about, and you briefly spoke in my last podcast also, is about creating balance sheet, right? How does a normal retail investor build a balance sheet? Would you want to share some perspective on that?
Well, no, I was just saying that, see, typically, if you look at a business or if you look at a company, any business is basically a balance sheet, right, which will have liabilities and assets. And the reason why those businesses exist, or the only reason why those businesses will exist in long term, failing which they will actually not exist. The only such reason is basically that there will be a spread between the assets and the liabilities, right? I mean, the return that you generate on the assets that you create should be more than the cost that you pay for the liabilities which are backing those assets, correct? So if the cost of raising liability is say 7, 8, 9, 10%, and the asset that you create is going to give you say 11, 12, 13, 14, then it's a sustainable balance sheet, correct? Now the thing is that individuals like us, you or me or maybe some of the listeners, we only have an income statement. We don't have any balance sheet, right? I mean, we have income and we have expense, right? So how does an individual create a balance sheet? Only if you have created some liability. You create a liability where you are certain that the cost that you will incur will be less than the value that you will derive from the asset or the return you will derive from the asset. Simplest example is that people should take a home loan, right? Yes, when you take a home loan, it's not that simple कि भाई loan ले लिया, घर खरीद लिया. I said that the asset which you create should produce, in financial terms, not just mental satisfaction. In financial terms also, it should produce a superior outcome. So if your home loan is 7.5 to 8%, but at an appropriate juncture, at an appropriate location, with the right amount of leverage, if you buy an asset, which has potential to not only appreciate. The other thing is that sometimes people buy an asset, but they buy with their own money. Right? Now today, if you were to buy a home with your own money, what will you do? You will withdraw all your investments and put money in the home and start living there. We are 7.5-8% में या 8.5 में अगर आपको होम लोन मिल रहा है तो आपको केवल यही देखना है कि वे जो मेरे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हैं उस पर मेरे को will I get 10, 11, 12, 13. If your investments are going to produce 10, 11, 12 or 13 and you destroy those investments and buy the house, so there's no balance sheet, it has shrunk, correct? But on the other hand, if you allowed your investments to do what they're doing, only did a down payment and created leverage to buy the house, then on aggregate, your assets and liabilities both have gone up. And as long as the spread is positive, you are wealthier, no? Your net worth has gone up. That is something to keep in mind.
I want to
You
talk
see,
about...
people are very against leverage. I'm just trying to say there is a concept of healthy leverage. If done the right way, it takes you forward.
Fair. I want to talk about AI and not just in terms of investment. I mean, what is your view in terms of it advising people? Because I have been experimenting with it and मैंने क्या किया, मैंने अपना statements upload किया, मेरा investment upload किया, I gave it some input goals. It produced a portfolio for me. It's suggesting. In fact, it has capability to research across the performance of the fund and everything. How much do you trust it? And where do you think it can go wrong?
See, all said and done, what will happen is that it will ultimately take all the past data and maybe embellish it with some current commentary. Correct. Now, we know for a fact that any current commentary coming from you or me also should be further embellished with enough number of disclaimers. Right? Because views are views and they have probabilities. So if all of it is just fantastic analysis of your current investment based on past data, then it will do a fabulous job. Correct. But if you're saying that it is helping you redraw your portfolio based on some future expectations of your goals or of the market environment, then that is where I will stop. Right? Because what is it going to research on? It's going to research based on some forward projections or some commentaries or some myriad sources of information or views. Correct. So I don't think that, personally I would be a bit circumspect about believing any forward prognosis. If it is about analyzing what is there available, then yes, anything which makes it efficient, easy, productive, one should be willing to use. Correct. Other thing to keep in mind is that ultimately investing is not just the numbers and the views. It still needs you to stay on course. Correct. वैसे तो यार मतलब आपका डाइटरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स, आपका वर्कआउट एंड फिजिकल फिटनेस का रिक्वायरमेंट्स, एवरीथिंग कैन बी जनरेटेड ना. इट डजंट मीन यू विल रीच द जिम एट 6 in the morning. नहीं मतलब इट कैन वर्क आउट अ फिजिकल फिटनेस प्लान एंड इवन सेट एन अलार्म ऑन योर फोन, वो कर देगा. बट दैट डजंट मीन यू विल वेक अप एंड गो डाउन एट 6. नो, नहीं होने वाला है. तो दैट एलिमेंट एनी वे रिक्वायर्स आइदर पर्सनल डिसिप्लिन और advisor. So I think so far I am absolutely convinced about efficiency, productivity, all of those. Not convinced about 100% automation.
Are asset management companies using AI to do any of their portfolio construction or anything like that? Or is there any plan
for exactly what I said, which is efficiency and productivity
for
and
the analysis?
Yes, absolutely. But I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think people are yet using it for actual, implementation or actual automation. Also, I suspect that a lot of what people say AI is still in the domain of analytics and, those kinds of things. But are human beings pulled out of the equation, and are we really, working based on machine learning and those feedback loops? I don't think, not yet. Haven't come across anything like that.
So, in today's market, you have any contra view that everybody is saying, this is either side, like somebody say, people are saying it's good but you think it's not good, or people are saying it's bad but you think it's good. Any view on anything?
नहीं, मैंने आपको स्टार्टिंग में बताया ना कि भाई everybody is caught up with the narrative, but I am seeing this happening 6th time. कम से कम मेरे करियर में 6-7 बार लोगों ने मेरे को बोल दिया कि इंडिया इज अ बास्केट केस.
So India is itself is a
yeah, right now if I say to you कि आने वाले 2 क्वार्टर में शायद FI फ्लो भी टर्न हो जाएगा, रुपया भी अप्रिशिएट हो जाएगा, नैरेटिव भी चेंज हो जाएगा, and I've been saying this for almost a year now, and in the last month or 3 months we have seen some early signs that some of this might be happening, right? That is clearly something to watch out for. you know, like I said, these narratives, जितना fundamental change नहीं होता उतना लोगों का mood change हो जाता है. So these narratives keep changing.
So if I my takeaway is that this times is not different than last 5 times.
Yeah.
Is correct.
हर बार ऐसा ही डाउट होता है लोगों को. मैं आपको 2-3 एग्जांपल देता हूँ. आपको पता है, आई एम नॉट नेमिंग नेम्स, इन 2008 व्हेन ऑयल वाज $145, देयर वाज अ एनालिस्ट हु केम विद पीक ऑयल थियरी एंड सेड के 2040 आते आते दुनिया में तेल खत्म हो जाएगा, और 2040 छोड़ो, 2008 में ही बोला था कि तेल का दाम 200 पार हो जाएगा. ओके, दिस वाज 2008. In 1893, John Rockefeller said that the world will run out of oil. Okay. I'll give you another example. I don't know whether it was 2012-13 or 2009. One of these bouts when rupee depreciated, a Credit Suisse analyst predicted that rupee will cross 85. Yes, rupee crossed 85, but after some 12 to 15 years, rupee crossed 85 first time last year, not in 2012 or 2009. So, lot of times what happens is that जिस तरफ हवा चल रही है, हाँ, वो जगजीत सिंह का था ना कि अपनी मर्जी से कहाँ अपने सफ़र के हम हैं, जिस तरफ हवाओं का रुख है उधर के हम हैं, ऐसा एक शायरी है ना. अपनी मर्जी से अपने सफ़र के कहाँ हम हैं, रुख हवाओं का जिधर का है उधर के हम हैं. हाँ, ऐसा बहुत लोग, तो वो ही सेड इट इन अ फिलोसॉफिकल सेंस दैट भाई आई हैव नो कंट्रोल ओवर द इवेंट्स ऑफ माई लाइफ. बट लोगों का मार्केट में भी ऐसा ही मोमेंटम, पीपल गेट कैरिड अवे विद द मोमेंटम, एंड वी हैव सीन इट टाइम एंड अगेन, राइट. 2020 आने पे हम लोग डायनासोर नहीं बनते हैं, और 2024 आने पे ऑल ट्रीज डोंट ग्रो टू द स्काई. वी ऑल हैव टू कीप मेंटल बैलेंस and emotional balance. Okay, so and it will happen again also. Like I said, in each of these instances people concluded India is a basket case, कुछ नहीं हो सकता है, right. 2013 was horrible. 2019 was horrible. इतना बड़ा credit crisis हो गया, some big institutions blew up, correct. So each of those times it was as bad. 2008 financial crisis happened in US, हमारा market 60% down हो गया, right. तो it has happened many times.
It's been wonderful talking to you. I want to close this podcast with something I was watching before you came here. I came across a podcast, big podcaster and a fund manager is kind of claiming that we are in a situation where there will not be any middle class anymore because of the way AI is coming and everything. So what's your view?
ये ऐसा सब प्रोग्नोसिस होता है नया टेक्नोलॉजी आने पे. ऑल दीज काइंड ऑफ प्रोग्नोसिस डज कम, राइट. बट ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर जुगाड़ू, ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर एंटरप्रेन्योरियल, ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर रिसोर्सफुल, राइट. एंड दैट इज हाउ द वर्ल्ड हैज इवॉल्व्ड. तो आई डोंट हैव like a Excel spreadsheet with specific arguments to defy what a person is saying. But I don't think that it is. I don't see that happening, or I don't think it is logical.
In terms of the job market, what's your view? How much will it affect? Or you think just like all other technology, jobs will change?
See, देखिए क्या है पता है आपको, ये जो बताया ना कि मिडिल क्लास ही नहीं बचेगा. See, please let's understand one thing. Wealth, distribution of wealth, how it should happen has been. There has never been a point in time when it has not been a topic of debate or discussion, right? Capitalism, socialism, elements of capitalism in a socialistic society, elements of socialism in a capitalistic, journey. This is all par for course. All of this is cyclical. Why is it that when it comes to politics, right wing, left wing, centrist, why does it keep changing? Why do political parties come in and out of power? Why does social and capitalistic leaning go in and out of vogue, right? It's all cyclical. It is all response of the very same, it is all wisdom of the crowds. It is all the very same people who influence these things, correct? अगर हम बहुत socialistic हो जाएंगे तो ज़रूर किसी का growth नहीं होगा. Then we will start leaning to the right. अगर हम बहुत ही right wing हो जाएंगे तो of course top 1% of the world will command all the resources and everybody else will feel poor but the people who you are making poor are the ones who are voting, no? So obviously then there will be a rebalance, correct? So all of these are cyclical phenomena, and eventually there is a concept of wisdom of the crowds, and ultimately society finds a balance, correct? So ये सब extreme prognosis नहीं करना चाहिए कभी भी. किसी भी हालात में दुनिया वाइट या ब्लैक नहीं हो जाता है. जैसे मैंने बताया कि 2020 आने पे हम डायनासोर नहीं बने ना, तो 2024 आने पे हम लोगों को ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए था कि हमारा अमृतकाल कल सुबह आ जाएगा, करेक्ट? सो आई थिंक आई एम वेरी सस्पेक्ट व्हेन पीपल मेक वेरी एक्सट्रीम. हाँ, आप ये ज़रूर बोल सकते हैं कि भाई जो करंटली जिन लोगों को हम मिडिल क्लास बोलते हैं, उन लोगों को like what is the route map to a secure middle class life in last 20 years versus next 10 years. आप ये ज़रूर बोल सकते हो कि भाई हाँ, वो जर्नी चेंज हो जाएगा. मिडिल क्लास तक पहुंचने के लिए तुमको क्या करना पड़ता था और आगे जाके क्या करना पड़ेगा, वो शायद जर्नी थोड़ा चेंज हो जाएगा. ये जरूर आप फोरकास्ट कर सकते हो.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग वे टू पुट दिस. यस,
वो बोल सकते हो आप. लेकिन आप बोलोगे मिडिल क्लास खत्म हो जाएगा. अरे बाबा, मिडिल क्लास का डेफिनेशन चेंज हो सकता है, जर्नी चेंज हो सकता है, वो सीमा रेखा को पार करने के लिए क्या करना पड़ता है वो चेंज हो सकता है. लेकिन मिडिल क्लास नहीं रहेगा कि क्या मतलब है, राइट? सो आई थिंक कॉन्टेक्स्ट और पर्सपेक्टिव बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. ऐसा बोल्ड स्टेटमेंट करने का क्या मतलब है? यू नो, इट डजंट मेक एनी सेंस.
One last parting question. I mean, I was about to end the podcast, but just came to me is that I want to talk about the relationship of advisor, distributor, and investor in context of the technology, because I will not take the name of these apps, but there are a couple of good big apps which have been selling direct funds,
of course,
and now they have moved to
intermediated.
I mean, what's their thought process, what has changed, and how the current set of advisors. I see, I've been talking to a lot of advisors. There's so many good advisors who are not so much doing it through the technology or app, but personal relationships. So how will this evolve according to you?
No, see, I just think that, let's understand one thing, that ultimately nothing comes for free. If there are people who have worked hard on technology, who have worked hard on analytics, who worked hard on the cloud, people have worked and invested humongous resources into building a particular technology, building particular setup, right, to acquire clients, many of those things. At some point in time, if they feel that I worked very hard for the last decade and I got a lot of clients and I made life easier for the clients, but I'm not getting return on my efforts, okay, then they are well within their rights, within the regulation, within the law of the land. If they feel that I should be charging clients, correct, then fair. The other thing is that a lot of time people get very caught up in the English and do not apply an iota of math. Please understand one thing, that if a direct plan is 0.5% and a regular plan is 1.5% and your investment is 5,000 rupees, तो अगर कोई 1% आपके 5,000 रुपीज़ पे, अगर आप डायरेक्ट प्लान में है तो 0.5 लगेगा, रेगुलर प्लान है तो 1.5 लगेगा. अगर आप 5,000 रुपीज़ पर ईयर, मतलब पीपल आर डूइंग एज लिटिल एज 500 bucks a month ना, सो 1,000 bucks a month, 500 bucks a month करते हैं कोई. चलिए हम ले लेते हैं कि भाई इंडस्ट्री का एवरेज SIP 2,000 के आसपास है ना, तो आप समझो कि भाई ये 100, 200, 500 उसको भूल जाते हैं और हम लोग बोलते हैं कि 2,000 पर मंथ, तो 24,000 पे अगर 1% का डिफरेंस है, हाँ, तो 240 रुपीज़ हुआ ना. तो समटाइम्स ना पीपल स्टार्ट मेकिंग ह्यू एंड क्राई दैट माई गुडनेस, डायरेक्ट प्लान एंड रेगुलर प्लान. बाबा, फॉर एवरेज SIP ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री इट इज़ 240 रुपीज़ पर ईयर. अब आप मेरे को बताओ कि अगर कोई आप यहाँ से 1 इंच भी हिले नहीं हो, आपका पूरा इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रहा है, SIP लग रहा है, SIP रुक रहा है, ये फ़ंड निकाल दे, वो फंड में डाल दे, मेरे क्वेरी का भी जवाब दे दे, कौन सा फ़ंड अच्छा करेगा, कौन सा NFO आ रहा है, मेरे को पूरा सर्विस चाहिए, मेरा साल का खर्चा 240 रुपया है. तो हाँ, ज़रूर अगर मैं आके बोलूँ कि भाई आपने डायरेक्ट के बजाय रेगुलर क्यों ले रहे हैं, तो आप ज़रूर, आपको लगे ओ माय गॉड हॉरिबल. बट अगर मैं बोलूँगी भाई ये 200 रुपये पर ईयर है, तब आप क्या बोलोगे? हाँ, तो आई थिंक दैट समटाइम द मैथ नीड्स टू बी अप्लाइड, लाइक अब आपने ऐप का बात किया अभी, तो मैंने ऐप का जवाब दिया. अभी आप समझो वी आर सिटिंग इन वन सबर्ब ऑफ मुंबई. हाँ, इफ आई एम अ म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, समझो ये सबर्ब गोरेगांव एग्जाम्पल, अगर मेरे को बोरीवली से कोई फ़ोन करेगा कि सर आप आके मेरे को मिलिए, मेरे को, आई एम अ म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर और अ सब ब्रोकर ऑफ अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर और व्हाटएवर, मेरे को बोरीवली से फ़ोन आएगा, हाँ, या गुड़गांव में मैं बैठा हूँ और मेरे को वसंत विहार से फ़ोन आएगा कि तुम आके मेरे को समझाओ ये फ़ंड अच्छा है कि ख़राब है, मैं निवेश करूँ कि नहीं करूँ, कितना करूँ. बस वो मेट्रो रेल का या बस का या टैक्सी का भाड़ा नहीं निकलेगा. 5,000 रुपये का SIP लेने जाओगे, साल का 60,000 होता है. उस पर अगर उसको 1% मिलेगा, भाई 1% ग्रॉस बोला मैंने, पता नहीं क्या ही GST इनकम टैक्स और पता नहीं क्या क्या निकलेगा, कन्वेंस नहीं निकलता है. अगर बोलोगे ना आपके रास्ते में से 4 प्रिंट आउट लेके आना, तो प्रिंट आउट का और A4 साइज पेपर का खर्चा नहीं निकलेगा. हाँ, सो द इंडस्ट्री, द डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स, द फिनटेक्स, they are serving the last mile without discussing the economics threadbare. अभी हमने जो बात किया, that is the threadbare economics. Correct? So if some people feel that they are not recovering their cost, or if some people rightfully feel that they should make some, I mean, can I grudge you the income that you will make? हाँ, मेरे को नहीं पसंद है तो मैं आपसे डील नहीं करूँगा, मत करो डील. बट कैन आई ग्रज यू हाउ यू मेक योर ब्रेड एंड बटर? It is wrong. I cannot grudge anybody's revenue or bread and butter. If I don't like them, I'll not deal with them. But can I grudge them? So the industry is serving the guy right to the last mile. वो तो एक तो 2,000 का एग्जाम्पल लिया मैंने, बट SIP का मिनिमम 100 रुपीज़ है.
100 rupees.
Right? So there will be millions of transactions on which the entire value chain is making loss. But there is an agenda of financial inclusion also. And we know that all these customers will become, all these customers will grow in their wealth, they will grow in their ability to invest, and we are just inculcating a good habit. But then, which part of the value chain is able to afford or not afford, that will show up, no, eventually.
Wonderful. Always nice talking to you, Aashish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks.